On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, we finally had a slow news weekend, I guess, or start to the weekend. So we're going to finally do our way too early starting five for men's basketball. So we're going to look at the Mizzou roster. Obviously, a lot of changes, a lot of newcomers in the fold. So we each brought a starting five. They are all different. We're not just cheating and, whatever Dennis goes with is whatever he goes with in the fall. But we just thought it'd be fun to talk about that for right now. Just get into it, to touch a little bit more on these new players, these new additions that the Tigers are bringing in. We're just going to do a little deep dive. We'll each have a starting five, and then we'll discuss. Peyton will have some other possible transfers that Mizzou might bring in, and we'll explore how those guys might fit into. So a whole men's basketball deep dive for you guys to start your week. And then we have quick hits, Ken Sports Shorts, Dirty Birds, and the fraud rankings as per usual to end the show. So good show for you guys to start your week. Let's dive into it. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, May 6th, and we're finally going to do the way too early basketball roster outlook starting five thing that I feel like I've touched on for the last 4 episodes, because we finally had things slow down on the news front, especially with football recruiting. Drinkwitz didn't decide to send any bat signals since we last spoke on Friday. So we're going to talk a little hoops, talk some Mizzou men's basketball, dive into our starting lineups. Kenny's got a roster chart up there. Mizzou is too lazy to post their own on their website. So shout out to Rockam Nation for posting a whole roster count. This one is from April, so there's a couple names on there that are no longer on the team. I think what we said, Caleb Brown, I'm seeing Jordan Butler and Francois, but you guys are all familiar with who's gone. We're not going to include those obviously in any of our starting fives, but I'll run through it as well. So this is how I categorize the roster, Peyton and Kenny, just from a holistic outlook standpoint. So I put it in guards. You got Tony Perkins, of course, from Iowa, Marcus Warwick, who came in from Northern Kentucky, Caleb Grill and Anthony Robinson, who were both on the team last season, and then freshman T.O. Barrett. I categorized these next two as wings instead of, true forwards, true guards, kind of more just scorers. I put Anar Boateng, the freshman, it's gotten a lot of buzz, and then Tamar Bates, of course, who was one of the better players in the team last year. At forwards, I included Mark Mitchell, the Duke transfer, Jacob Cruz, the UT Martin transfer, Marcus Allen, one of the freshmen as well. I think 6'7" he stands. And then Aiden Shaw, who was on the team last year. And then at center, true center, I included freshman Peyton Marshall and Trent Burns, because they're both very tall and very big and not probably more forwards. But I guess before we dive in and each do our starting five, what do we think of that roster as it stands right now? I know, Peyton, we're going to go through maybe a couple more names. Dennis Gates might not be done necessarily, but what do we think of this team as it stacks up?
Pretty interesting categorization there, because I would think Grill would probably be just a straight up wing. That's how they used him last year, I feel like. So I would maybe shift that over, but it's an interesting roster, because like last year, we're kind of left saying, wow, they could go a lot of different ways with this roster, which isn't necessarily a good thing. It didn't wind up being a good thing last year because they had to, one of those things they settled on was, hey, let's start Jesus Carolero the first game of the year. And that kind of set the tone. But I think it's a more talented group this year. I think there's a lot of different ways to go. Honestly, now I'm thinking I should have included Caleb Grill in my starting five, but I wanted to mix it up a bit. So,
yeah, I thought Jacob Cruz would be in that wing spot as well. I think he's listed as a wing on ESPN. He's played the forward and guard. He's 6'8" too. So I mean, he could stretch out to both positions. I'm just excited to kind of see where these things shake out. And I'm a little bit upset too that JV Brown and Danny Stevens weren't included in your list, Jack.
They got to do more. I mean, we talked about this, I think Peyton and I, they got to do more to earn it. We need some more walk on, aura, I guess. we need some more walk on. Like I don't remember, any Danny Stevens or JV Brown moments in the way I remembered things from Jackson Francois and Ben Sternberg. So I don't know. They have to earn their stripes here. But yeah, I don't think they'll be in any part of the rotation, but I like what you both said. I think there is still some flexibility in this roster. I think Dennis doesn't mind getting himself kind of this, like, especially at the forward spot, kind of a tweener. There's a couple players here who I think are able to play a lot bigger than their size probably is, from a height perspective in the post. I think there's some intriguing options there. You mentioned Cruz. Mark Mitchell, I think is going to be a really fun addition. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what lineup he goes with. And I know we all brought 3 different lineups. Do either of you two want to go first? Otherwise, I can go first instead.
I can go first if you guys want. It's totally up to you. But,
Peyton, give us your starting 5 and dive into why you think this could be what the Tigers go with next year.
Okay, I do not think this will be the actual starting 5. I think next year's starting 5 is going to include Grill, and obviously, I think there's a pretty good chance the last scholarship on the roster is going to be used on a 5. Who probably will at least start the opening tip, but probably won't play like a starter. But here's the 5 I brought. My point guard, I think all of us have it. It's Tony Perkins. He was kind of one of the bigger additions for them in the portal. Has very, very good underlying numbers for someone that could potentially be a point guard, as long as he kind of doesn't play too much ISO ball or just a little ball dominant like he was last year at Iowa. I think that could be very good. My 2 spot, I'm going to use it on Marquise Warwick here. I don't really think Marquise Warwick will be in the starting 5 opening night, but I think this starting 5 I'm using, I think it's a lineup Dennis is going to roll out when he wants to go smaller. Warwick is just a straight up guy. He just is a straight up scorer. 19.9 points per game, first team All Horizon League. He's someone that can absolutely play the 2, play a little more ball dominant. At the 3, I've got Tamar Bates because I thought they were going to use Tamar Bates more like they would have used Demoy Hodge, but they used him more like they tried to use DeAndre Golston. I feel like Golston kind of played the 3 a little bit more just because he was a bigger guard. But it's similar play styles, so I think Bates could probably play the 3 here. My 4 is going to be Jacob Cruz. Again, Kenny kind of touched on it. He's 6'8". He's capable of playing probably all of the big positions, 3, 4, or 5. Maybe you can even slide him in at the 2 on occasion if you want to get really weird, which Dennis Gates obviously is not afraid to do. And the only reason I have him at the 4 here, he was, of course, the first edition Gates and company brought in. They got him like within 2 days of the portal being open. And my 5 here is going to be Mark Mitchell. Again, this is like a small ball lineup. Ideally, you have Mitchell playing more of the 4, but I think Mitchell is very capable of playing the 5 in smaller lineups. This is the one I'm most excited about. I think Mark Mitchell is everything Mizzou has been missing for a couple of years, or just this past year at least. Very, very Kobe Brown reminiscent. Other than the fact that he's probably not going to hit any 3s, I'm very excited about Mark Mitchell. So yeah, that's my 5.
Yeah, I think the one thing when you're looking at this roster too, I just realized Caleb Grill isn't on it, so I'm glad you brought that up too, Peyton. And we have very similar roster, starting 5s. And the one thing we can always say is that Dennis, the starting 5 he has on the first game of the season, I can kind of promise you won't be the starting 5 for the last game of the season. That's how he works. He finds different ways. It changes every single week, and it changed even when his team was tournament bound. You look at the starting five at the beginning of the 2022 season. In the final months of it, it changed, and it changed week by week, changed up by matchups, and that's where mine kind of goes into play there. We've seen it before with him, and even when Konzo Martin was at the helm, that sometimes they would slot in a younger guy that was at the 5 and just kind of leave him in, get the tip, play the first few minutes, and then take him out. And we saw it a couple times this last season. We also saw it with Connor Vanover. And, there might be another guy that's not even on the roster yet that'll start at that 5. But that's where I'll kind of start. I'll go backwards here. I think Peyton Marshall will be the opening, day center if there's no one else added to this roster and that slots into this lineup. I was kind of between him and Trent Burns, for that big man spot, and pulling up the class of 2024. Burns is at 7'2", Peyton Marshall's at 6'10". We talked with Trent Burns. We know he was battling that injury this season, and he talked with Coach Dennis Gates about getting on campus early, and Coach Gates was like, no, stay back at school, finish out your season, get ready, get as much reps as you can. And it feels like he's a little bit raw, probably not ready for that opportunity, but we've seen Peyton Marshall just develop, as more into an athlete and more into his size. We've seen him, turn his weight into muscle. And that's the one big positive for him that we've seen from Overtime Elite. And Jack even said this before we got on here, that it's good that he's in Overtime Elite because we can actually see his stats and how he's doing. So that's where I kind of have him. My 2 forwards, very, exact same as Peyton. I have Cruz and Mitchell. It's kind of tough too, because you don't want to load up this starting 5 and just kind of get excited with the transfers. But there's just no one else, I'd really go to right here. I don't think Aiden Shaw is going to one up any of those guys for starting minutes. And then at the top, I do have Tony Perkins and Tamar Bates. And in my mind, I was considering Caleb Grill there. Last year, last May, I remember saying, I was like, I think Jesus Carolero will be one of the starting 5, and that didn't really play out well. Caleb Grill isn't the same player. I kind of see him more as a Trago Million kind of moving forward for Mizzou, just kind of like the scrappy defender, someone who's going to, bring a little bit of energy to the team. And we saw that in the Minnesota game this past season, and we probably would have seen it a little bit more if he didn't go down with that injury. But I do kind of like him as the 6th man off the bench and maybe starting in a couple games too.
Peyton, did you have a thought? Sorry,
I was just going to say, on the Caleb Grill front, I feel like if he was to start, he could start at the 2. I'd probably guess he'd start at the 3. Like if I was going to make a change on mine, I'd take Warwick out, move Bates over to the 2, and put Grill in at the 3. I think you can expect a little more out of Grill than just being a Gomelian type. I do agree from the scrappy defender and like team energy standpoint, there's no better fit than Grill on the roster, but I think Grill is actually capable of being a real like offensive difference maker as well.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting one, and I'll get more into Caleb Grill when I do my lineup. But I think you triggered something, Kenny. I think we should talk for a second too about Aiden Shaw. I think it says a lot about the kind of lack of improvement that we saw from last season, where he didn't really make the jumps we expected, and now I don't think any of us really have him in the plans. We're more intrigued by a Jacob Cruz coming over from UT Martin than him in the starting 5 next year. I don't even, we talk about Caleb Grill, and I think that's a good role you guys set for him. Like, what is Aiden Shaw's role on this team? Because like I feel like we've still seen stuff in flashes where he can contribute, but now it almost seems to me like he screams somebody who probably won't get the minutes he wants in his 3rd season, and I would almost assume transfers next year if after next year if that ends up being the case. Where do you see him fitting in, or both of you see him fitting in maybe at all next season? It's hard to place for me.
Like I'm very shocked he didn't transfer, to be honest, but clearly the coaching staff still has some sort of faith in him, and they had to have communicated that to him. So it was kind of a similar thing last year where he had to have a big offseason, and he did bulk up, but I mean, the offensive game didn't develop at all. This season, I think offseason really, I think is going to really make or break him at Mizzou. I mean, if he can develop that game, which he's going to have to practically live in the gym if that's the case, because his game just really was so far behind what we would have expected. I think it honestly got worse from his freshman season because he was afraid to when he had the ball in his hands. And I mean, you still have Trent Pierce in the fold that he's going to have to compete with for minutes. And you bring in all these freshmen. I mean, maybe Trent Burns is a guy you redshirt right away. I don't think T.O. Barrett's going to fight for a whole ton of minutes. And obviously they don't, or Barrett doesn't play the same position as Shaw. But I mean, there are so many more bodies in the fold here that Aiden Shaw is going to have to really earn anything he gets this offseason. So as far as role, I can't really say what I expect from him because I don't know. Like I was thinking about, because I figured it was going to be a question we were asked, who are going to be the first few guys off the bench. I don't think I have Aiden Shaw in there, to be honest.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
I wonder.
Go ahead.
I think it's kind of like a confidence thing too, going into this next season, and I think that's something that Dennis Gates has to build in him as well. If he does have a good summer, you kind of turn and kind of look at what Caleb Brown was, kind of like the last 2 years where Dennis would maybe throw him out there at near like the under 8 in the first half and see what he can provide defensively or offensively. And I think that's where you kind of like have to build up Aiden Shaw a little bit. You have to be able to protect him with other guys on the floor that can score. You can't put him out there with guys that aren't going to score as much. Maybe like Caleb Grill, I don't know how much scoring he'll provide next season, but I think you just have to be able to put him out there with some of the starters and kind of build that confidence that, he can be out there and he can play defense. We know he's been a pretty, stellar inbound defender, but I mean, that's just one part of the game that he needs to show. And, but I think that's where it kind of comes from, how can the Tigers get him on the floor with some of these other guys that kind of protect him if he does make mistakes and really just build that confidence back up to where, he wanted to be after his freshman season.
Yeah. I think I just am still, I just love athleticism. And so it's just fun to see, I think I still hold out a lot for what you see with the leap ability and the length. And like you said, that sort of long wing defender archetype that he kind of offers. But
that's the thing. He has the athleticism to be a ferocious defender. And I mean, we've seen it at times. I remember vividly his freshman season. He guarded, I think it was a guard, I forget who, against Georgia. He smothered on the perimeter so badly that whoever it was ran out of time on the shot clock and had to fire off the worst shot you've ever seen. Like, it's in there for Aiden Shaw, but it doesn't pop out enough. And I think that's his main issue. If I do see Aiden Shaw on the floor early, like in the first game of the season, I will absolutely be convinced he probably has earned it because there is so much working against him this offseason, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. So wait, before we deviate a little bit. Kenny, just run through your starting 5 quickly, and Peyton do the same, and then I'll read mine. We can get them all on the table.
Tony Perkins, Tamar Bates, Jacob Cruz, Mark Mitchell, and Peyton Marshall.
I have Tony Perkins, Marquise Warwick, Tamar Bates, Jacob Cruz, and Mark Mitchell.
Okay. I kind of went with a combination of both, and we're going to go back to our guy Caleb Grill for a second. I'll read my whole starting 5. I'll go in between, or I'll go one by one after. My starting 5 for next season, I have Tony Perkins. I did start Caleb Grill at the 2.
Okay.
Tamar Bates at the 3, Mark Mitchell at the 4, and Peyton Marshall at the 5. So a little bit of a combination. I like, Perkins is going to be the best creator on this team. You can look at his Torvik numbers. His assist percentage was off the charts last year. He doesn't turn the ball over. I liked the idea of pairing that with a guy in Caleb Grill, who we've talked about his kind of scrappiness and the things he offers on that side of the floor. He's also, if you remembered his last full season, was a fantastic 3-point shooter and is a very good off the ball 3-point shooter. And I really like that fit with someone like Perkins creating for him. I think you have to start Tamar Bates. He's the best isolation scorer on the team. You can give him the ball in those situations and let him do that. Mitchell, I think, again, just kind of a great rim protector, rebounder, everything that Peyton and Kenny kind of have already said. And I like Peyton Marshall. Kenny, you mentioned those stats in Overtime Elite. I don't think it's a great league, but shout out to them for actually keeping stats instead of the, sus high school stats that we sometimes get. In overtime elite, he's averaged about 8 points a game and about 6 rebounds. His per 40 numbers have him about 19 points a game and 13 rebounds. So some exciting numbers there. He's obviously, he's a big guy. He's a little bit smaller at 6'10", like Kenny said. Clearly, he's got some swagger about him. We've talked about it on the show before with, he's throwing the ball off of people. He's blocking and talking trash. So I like that from an energy standpoint as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I went with. And, Peyton, you talked about Caleb at the 3. What do you think of him maybe as a 2, as an off-ball shooter for a guy like Perkins or someone creating for him?
No, yeah, like I said, he could play the 2 or the 3. I just say the 3 because it's more of a size fit than I think Tamar Bates is. But you're definitely right in the fact that he definitely, especially with Perkins being able to create for him, it's definitely a logical fit. You'd want him taking those types of shots more than Bates probably. Bates hit threes, I think, more often than not when he got catch and shoot last season. He wasn't a bad 3-point shooter by any stretch, but like you said, he's the best isolation player on the team. I do kind of think that was out of necessity last season because there were 2 scorers and absolutely nothing else on the team that could really do much offensively. Thanks, Jesus Carolero Martin. But I do think so I wonder if he pulls the reins back just a bit on that, but I do think that's definitely a logical lineup decision to have Bates at the 3 and Grill at the 2 if you want.
Yeah, I think the 2, all 3 of us have the 2 guys that are unquestioned starters in Grill and Mark Mitchell, just because, Grill is or not Grill and Mark Mitchell, sorry, Bates and Mark Mitchell.
Well, we all had Perkins at the 1.
We did also Perkins at the 1.
I think that's Sharpie.
Yeah, I think he tinkers with that, and then it's some sort of combination. I really do think, to revisit what Peyton said too, with the idea of running small is really interesting to me, because I think Jacob Cruz, as much as one interview, you don't want to base, how you're going to assess a player off one interview. But I shouted out on the show before, listening to him talk to Gabe DeArmond gave me a world of confidence that he's going to be really good at this level. I think he's a mature player. I think he is going to embrace his role. I think he knows exactly what he's going to do. And once he gets his assignment, he's going to execute it really well. So I could see that translating into a start. And then, we talk about some of these young guys. I mean, it's a fantastic freshman class. We haven't even talked about Anor Boateng, who arguably has gotten the most hype of any of them coming into next season. Where does he factor in? You still have a couple of returning sophomores in Robinson and Trent Pierce. I don't expect Pierce to really be in the fold, but Robinson's interesting. I think that's a good segue, off the bench based on your lineups. Let's do it like that. Based on the lineups you guys have, who are your first maybe 2 to 3 guys you're coming in when you're talking about trimming down a rotation to 8-7 guys, say in a NCAA tournament situation?
Right. Okay. Well, if I was to do just this lineup, it would probably assume that Mizzou did not get another big, which we'll talk about the 3 bigs that that Mizzou has been linked to. And I think Mizzou will probably get one of them in a bit. But I'm going to just assume that guy is not on the roster then, because otherwise he would be starting. So with my kind of smaller lineup, first 3 guys I'm bringing off the bench are probably Caleb Grill. Got to bring Caleb Grill off the bench very quickly. He probably plays starter level minutes, but is just a guy you rotate off the bench. Probably do bring in Peyton Marshall. I think if Mizzou is able to get one of the 3 bigs out of the portal, none of them are like bona fide 30-minute players. They probably split time with Peyton Marshall. Mm-hmm. So I bring Peyton Marshall off the bench. Then that 3rd guy that you'd have come off the bench, I mean, it could be literally anybody. It depends on what Dennis Gates is feeling at the moment, what type of lineup he likes to run. Because, I mean, Trent Pierce is still here. They clearly like Trent Pierce. Ant Robinson still in the fold. Aiden Shaw. We just had a whole long thing about him. You know what? I kind of want to just think, like, I'm going to pretend it's opening night. Dennis Gates just wants to pop the crowd in comes Anor Boateng off the bench. He's one of the first 3 subs. I think that's fun. I think it's a fun thing to do. If Dennis Gates wants a little defense, maybe he brings in Marcus Allen. I mean, we've heard Marcus Allen is maybe the best defender of the group. So maybe he comes in. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to go. I think Grill is a absolute. If he's not in the starting 5, he's the first guy off the bench, though.
Yeah, that's where mine is too. I do have Caleb Grill as the 6th man right now, and Marquise Warwick would be the next guy off for me, and that's just like an easy 2. I've been kind of going back and forth, just listening to you, Peyton, on where I wanted to go with that 3rd guy. I still really think that Aiden Shaw. I think there's just a really good connection there between him and Dennis Gates, and it's just all about this summer. It's all about how these guys develop and who's really sticking out, because we have months ahead of us before we even see who's going to be in the starting 5 and who's going to be some of those first guys off the bench. And I've kind of went back and forth between Boateng and Shaw on this one. And I think I'm just going to go with Aiden Shaw here. I think that, early on in the season, and I think he's still going to get some run, just kind of see where he is in development against competition, and especially against non-con competition, to see how he's matured into his junior season. But I do like the idea that Anor Boateng would be the next guy off. And it almost feels like, if Anthony Robinson doesn't take that step forward this summer and in the coming months before the season starts, I feel like Boateng could leap him. I think there's an opportunity there that, he's shown so much athleticism as a high school senior. He's shown so much speed on the court that, I think you want to see how that translates early on against non-con competition before you start kind of narrowing down your bench, because I feel like this season you're not going to really run into that really long bench into SEC play, because there's more solidified starters and more experienced players in this starting 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because Dennis, I mean, the bench is such I think a key convo with Dennis, because he does run it really deep, and maybe he won't next season if he's got a more solidified starting 5. I think we had conversations all season last year that we were thinking it was probably more that Dennis didn't really like many of his lineups and didn't really know what his best lineup could have been. So it was just a lot of rotation, which was frustrating. And I don't know that he necessarily wants that. I don't think we want that. I think I really only have a 3rd spot up for grabs in my lineup, because I think Marcus Warwick and Jacob Cruz have to be my top 2 off the bench, because I didn't include either of them. And yeah, I mean, I've got 3 names, and they're 3 that have already kind of been mentioned. It's Aiden Shaw, like Kenny said. I'm still intrigued. I'm holding on hope that he's going to translate that 49-inch vertical that he had in that one video a couple years ago to something. Him, Anor Boateng, I think is going to get run, and I think he's going to probably turn into a fan favorite by the end of things. And then Anthony Robinson, was, in my opinion, it's close with him and Jordan Butler, but I almost thought at times Anthony Robinson was clearly the best freshman on the team.
It's not really saying a lot.
It's not saying a lot, but I think as a smaller guard, where it's already a little bit harder to stick at a Power 5 level, I think he did some really good things, and especially on defense, I think it's interesting. So I'm curious to see what his leap would be. I would probably go with Aiden Shaw though, and stick with that as you have Warwick as you rotates in at guard. And you have kind of 2 forwards that come in Cruz and Aiden Shaw. But I mean, anything else with this bench? Any other players? I'm trying to just tick every box here to talk about. Yeah,
Trent Pierce would do. I mean, I don't know, because I can't foresee a situation where he comes into a game before another center, be that a guy they get out of the portal or Marshall. I think one of those 2 would go in before him. I think Aiden Shaw, even though I'm kind of pessimistic on him, I think he's probably in front of Pierce in the lineup, because I at least know what I can potentially get out of Shaw. What have I seen out of Trent Pierce that makes me think, yeah, this guy is someone I need to make sure to get in a game? Ant Robinson, you touched on it, Knowlton. I mean, he's at least shown he can be a very, very solid defender, maybe. The scoring was non-existent, but that's a part of his game that maybe could come along. I don't Trent Pierce is an interesting one, because I just don't know what they do with him.
I just think we're in a really interesting sort of sequence where Dennis Gates has recruited so well the last 2 classes. You've only lost one of those guys. Obviously, we didn't expect anyone from the 2024 class to already hand in a transfer request. Not that they couldn't really even, but you're stashing these like kind of exciting freshman and sophomore players, and then you're also working the transfer portal really well. And so it's like, I don't want to say it's like a bottleneck because it's like a good problem to have, but you're in this weird in between phase where you're trying to figure out how well these freshmen from last year have developed. How impactful can the freshmen from this year be, given where their standings are in the class? They clearly have a lot of talent, and then also where do the transfers fit in? Because you obviously brought those guys in to be starters. So,
and it can't take 10 games to figure all that out this time.
Right.
You got to get figured out quick.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
And I think this is my one last thing, because this summer is going to be so pivotal for a lot of these guys, and you'll see where they kind of line up. But Dennis has had that one guy each summer that he always, points to that's had the best camp. And, from Caleb Brown to John Tonje. I mean, who do you think is going to be that guy this year that, kind of doesn't really come out of the woodwork, but someone that maybe is a little bit of surprise? You're like, Dennis is going to really hype up and try to get him early minutes.
I mean, I feel, and Peyton, you could say yours too. I kind of feel like it will be Aiden Shaw, and whether that proves to be true or not, I think that's going to be who it is. He just feels like the perfect, he really bulked up. He started working on his shot. He's got a little bit more confidence, like whatever you want to say for his improvements offensively. I feel like that's who Dennis will say. Again, whether that pans out to be true, I don't know, but that's who I think he'll say. Who would I want it to be? I would love it to be a guy like Robinson or one of the freshmen, a Marcus Allen or a Boateng. Dennis is just like, yeah, this kid's ready. We're going to give him some big time run.
I think it's going to be Marshall. Quite frankly, I think he's the guy that I think most likely comes in and kind of impresses the staff. I mean, last year they talked a ton about how Trent Pierce was maybe going to be a one and done. Boy, did that not happen. I mean, we heard a lot. Kenny mentioned John Tonje, they said was their best player, they felt like, for a lot of camp. So I don't know why they forced him out. But, I mean, then we heard about like Caleb Brown, and now he's gone. So quite frankly, I hope they don't say it about anybody, because it seems to be almost a kiss of death. But if I had to pick one, I really do think Peyton Marshall is going to come in and like earn some minutes right away. Especially, I think this is a good segue to just bring up the 3 centers that Mizzou has kind of been linked to. They've been linked to Kasean Pryor in the portal. There's some staff connections there. He's at South Florida last year, from Chicago. That's where Dennis Gates is from, obviously. There's a few other staff connections. 13-8. He's probably the biggest sort of difference maker. He plays similar to how Dennis likes. He's not afraid to really kind of step out and take a 3. So that maybe is the biggest difference maker. Another center they've been linked to in the portal, Ben Leuchten from UC Irvine. Going to be honest, this is the one I want the least. He's 7'1", but I mean, when you see a tweet that like talks about his per 40 numbers in it, it's not that encouraging to me, really. But you see there, I mean, the rebounding rates are good. 5 boards in 16.5 minutes. I mean, that's not bad. The last one, this is an interesting one. It's Josh Gray. You look at those numbers, 3.2 points and 2.8 rebounds a game. Not that impressive, but man, the rates he did this stuff at, because he only played 10 minutes a year, I think this is like a perfect fit for what Mizzou needs out of the 5 spot. Just have like a guy go out there, play 12 to 15 minutes, grab a few boards a game, rotate him out, like split the time at that position with Peyton Marshall, and then maybe run some smaller lineups there in the minutes those two aren't on the floor. I'm very intrigued by that sort of roster fit. They're not going to get a difference maker, a bona fide star at the 5. I think Matt J. Harris put it the best from Rock M. He put it the best on Twitter. They made that trade-off of getting a really good 5 with getting Mark Mitchell to play the 4 for them. I think that's a deal you make any day of the week. So yes, going back to who do I think will break out, I think it'll be Peyton Marshall because, like you said, he's got swagger, he's got confidence. He's built to be an SEC level center. He has the build to do it. He's close to 7 feet. He's got some bulk behind him. You have him play like 12, 15 minutes. You have someone like Josh Gray play 12, 15 minutes. Pad the rest of that time with maybe a little bit of a smaller lineup. I think that's a very good blend. I think that can work for Mizzou.
Peyton, do you know why his usage rate went down? You're looking at the 2022 to 2023 season. He started in 15 of those 32 games, averaged around 17. Josh Gray, and 17 minutes per game. And then in this past season, he played in 31 games. He didn't start any, and his minutes went down to 10 minutes per game, as you mentioned. I mean, from your own research and just watching the SEC, do you know why the usage rate went down?
You got to remember with South Carolina, they were a lot better this year. They had way more guys that they actually could rely on to play. They had a lot of good contributions from guys like BJ Mack had a big role for them. Talon Cooper. I mean, they were not afraid to shoot the three. That is not something that Gray does at all. He does not have a made three-pointer. I don't even think, has he attempted one in his career? I doubt it. Yeah. So, I mean, it was probably just a bit of everything.
Oh, he's attempted 2.
Oh, well, there you go. He's made 0, though.
For Josh Gray 3.
I think it's more just, I don't think it's because he's bad. I think it's just more because South Carolina was a pretty good team this year. They were a tournament team. They were a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament. They had very good contributors across the board. Eventually it's a numbers game. No, Josh Gray is not going to come in and be like an all-world center for Mizzou. But his rebounding rates are very good. The defensive numbers are encouraging. For 2 years now under Gates, we've been saying, okay, if Mizzou could just have a guy that could block a couple shots and grab a few boards, that would be great. That's what Gray does. Very limited offensive game, but he can give you boards. He can give you defense. Play him 12 to 15 minutes a game. I think it works out for the best.
Yeah, I like your take with the rim. I don't think you can really overstate how big rim protection is in the SEC. Like, the best teams traditionally have a very good rim protector, someone who's just bulky, because you can still play that kind of old school, back to the basket style, and guys like that make a big difference on a team. So, it's good that they're still linked to some names. And again, for Mizzou's purposes, it doesn't have to be a guy like Peyton said that has to stuff the stat sheet. Josh Gray, also, he'd be the player to be named later in the Jordan Butler trade if he does come to Mizzou, because of course Jordan Butler went to South Carolina.
I mean, and he highlighted it there, 7'5", 265. That's an SEC center. Like, that's an SEC center size.
Like, we think about last year with a guy like Jamarian Sharp. Jamarian Sharp wasn't a great player at Ole Miss, but he, went out and got a bunch of rebounds. And
legitimate presence down there, blocked a few shots. That's just what Mizzou needs from that position.
I look at to broaden it too, there's a guy in the portal from Kentucky named Ugonna Onyeso who has very similar numbers to Josh Gray. Obviously, he played for Kentucky, so there's a little bit more upside there. I think he averaged more blocks than rebounds. So there's value there in just a pure rim protector, in a guy who's going to keep things simple, grab you boards, and block shots. And so that's, I think, where Mizzou will probably go next. Any final thoughts, boys, on this roster? Kenny, do you want to give Danny Stevens and JV Brown any love from when I was roasting them earlier?
Hey, I didn't get to answer my own question. Maybe they're the guys.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That step up this summer and get the shout out. But I do think my last thing there, I think that also is a big vote of confidence too. Dennis Gates very players coach, and I think he won't give anyone credit that doesn't deserve it. But I do think if somebody like Aiden Shaw really turns it around, or Trent Pierce really takes a step forward, he's going to give them their flowers in the media and really boost up some of that confidence too. Showing people in the public that he does believe in them. And I think if either of those guys really show anything this summer, I think he'll be quick to tell the media about it.
Yeah. Should Mizzou land one of those 3 bigs, give me a grade for Dennis Gates' work in the offseason, both with recruiting and in the transfer portal. How would you grade it?
If we're recruiting high school including high school recruits, that's an A+. I mean, because it's the best. It's a top 5
That's true. All right,
class in the country.
just transfer portal. Just transfer portal. We'll do that.
Again, compared to last year, where I was like, well, Jesus Carolero Martin could be a connecting 5. That's fun. A+ compared to last season. If you're looking just in a vacuum, it's still a high grade for me, like an A-, maybe B+, just because there are some other things I look at on the roster and I'm like, I could maybe want something else. Like it would be ideal to maybe have another point guard so that Perkins, you can have a bit more freedom in how to use him. A game-changing 5 would be nice, but I think getting someone that can just protect the rim, like we mentioned, grab a few boards, that's still good. I would go A- because Mark Mitchell was like a true bona fide. That's a certified get, as basketball people like to say on Twitter.
Great, big get.
That's a big get. Like
Big
that
get.
is a dude from Duke that was starting for Duke that is coming to play for Missouri. That is huge. So yeah, I still think it's like an A- off season in the portal, if assuming Gates gets another center.
I mean, if they win one game in SEC play, this is an A+. I think it's just,
World's
if
an
you compare it to
improvement.
last season and that's what you're supposed to for these sorts of things, it's an automatic A+ already. I think, you can be very confident that they will win at least one SEC game. If not, I mean, we can all assume they're going to win more than one this next season. And they'll win 2, and that's another A+. But yeah, I think A- is a good grade. I still think there's maybe something missing down low as you look at some of these center options guys are linked to in the portal. But when you get 2 guys that started at the Power 5 level, weren't guys that were just kind of castaways, maybe 6 men. That's a big thing. And I think that's huge for Dennis Gates moving forward in recruiting. Like Peyton said, Mark Mitchell is a get like that. Those are him and Tony Perkins. Those 2 guys that started at the Power 5 level, made great contributions for their respective teams. And you go out there and get 2 guys at the group of 5 levels and some of those mid-major schools that score a lot. And those are the 4, those are 4 great recruits and 4 transfers that really matter moving forward. And it's already better than last season.
Yeah, I think you both make good points, and yeah, I like to see starters at the Power 5 level, not any of these. He hasn't done the messing around to the extent he did last year with getting projects and getting guys that, diamonds in the rough, so to speak. You earn the right to get diamonds in the rough as you get, once you get established a little bit, and I think his first year, you could consider Demoy Hodge that, but Dennis knew exactly the player Demoy Hodge was. He didn't know the player Jesus Carolero turned out to be, and he thought and it was a mistake and whatever. But we moved on from that. Yeah, I'll probably give it a B+ to be a little bit different. I would have jumped in the A range if he would have got Nick Pringle. I really wanted Nick Pringle. That would have been
cool.
But yeah, I think that's a solid grading system. It's going to be fun, I think, to see. And obviously we'll have any news should one of these next 3 transfers end up getting picked up by the Missouri Tigers. So, yeah, with that, let's finish the show, boys. Segue to quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We're going to start with Ken's Sports Shorts for the Monday quick hits. As per usual, I am looking at the headline of this Sporkle quiz that Kenny has so graciously picked. If you're on the YouTube, you can see it. I am not excited by this because I don't think I'm going to help very much. But Kenny, for the people listening to the show, what are we doing for your quiz?
It's a quick pick on Sporkle, so it's only 30 seconds long, and there's 5 questions because there's only 5 teams in NL Central. It's NL Central teams by last World Series win. I'll give you what the format kind of looks like. It'll pop up with a year for this World Series win, and then you'll have to pick the team. It'll give you the 5 teams below, and it'll be pretty quick because there's only 30 seconds, but I want you to let me read the year first before you start throwing out the team you think it is. And some of them won't be very easy because we know last time the Cardinals and Cubs, but the other ones will be maybe a little tricky.
That's what I was going to say, Peyton. I think you should let me guess, and then you can just say the right answer.
Okay.
All right.
Well, this is a good one because all of our teams are in the NL Central.
Yeah, that's why I chose it. That's why I chose to say the Astros used to be there. But the question is, can you select the National League Central team when given their last World Series championship year? So it'll be a pretty quick one.
I'll guess
I'm
quickly.
sorry
and then
about the
Peyton-
ads. They don't like my ad blocker at Sporkle.
I'll say it quick, and then Peyton can just get it right. That's how we'll do this.
Okay.
Okay.
You tell me when you guys are ready.
We're ready.
I think I'm ready.
Right. First year, 2016.
Cubs.
Yep.
This is the Brewers.
No World Series wins.
Brewers.
1979.
Reds. Is that wrong?
Yeah, no, it was the Pirates because this is the Reds.
Hurry up.
Reds.
2011.
Cardinals. 2011's Cardinals.
Pirates was 79.
Sorry.
We got below the average.
Well, how do you even get? We either got 4 or 5. How's the average?
Because some people get 4, some people get 5.
That's not really fair.
You just ask how math works.
But we couldn't get. Of course, if we got all of them, we would have been above the average. But we weren't going to get.
Yeah, but we got 4 right, which is below average because most people get 5.
I understand why we are below.
But if you get like a 3 and a 5, that is the median score of a 4. So
I get it.
80%. But if more people get 5s, then it goes above the 80%.
Enough.
That was a quick one. I thought it was fun.
It is fun.
It's not that fun. But that's
You were happy after the first 2.
I wasn't happy after the first 2. I was happy after the first 1. I
This
don't
year,
like
Jack.
that.
This year it'll change. They'll have to
Hey,
change.
the Brewers are playing very good baseball this year. All right.
If the Cubs win today, they're no longer in first.
Oh, this is something I wanted to tell you guys.
Yes.
Bryce Terang, his brother-in-law is Trey Way. Is that the punter?
You mean
for
Tressway?
Tressway. Tressway is his
What?
brother-in-law. Yeah, I learned that this weekend.
That's wild.
That
Bryce
is the
Terang,
dumbest.
plays for the Brewers, and Tressway is the punter for the Commanders in the NFL.
That is the dumbest connection ever. Why are those two connected by that?
Because Bryce Terang's sister played softball and soccer at Oklahoma, and of course Tressway was a punter at Oklahoma, and they started dating and they got married.
Very lovely.
Yes. Bryce Terang is really fast. There's a lot of bolts.
He is pretty fast.
He can't really hit. Moving on.
Dirty Birds.
I like No Cap, and he's the dirty bird.
He's the dirty bird. We'll have Ben
This
Sternberg
one-
call Sean East and get him to say that.
Yeah, once he gets to the NBA and plays for the Atlanta Hawks.
Well, back on. What's your dirty bird, Kenny?
My dirty bird of the week. This one, I actually kind of want to throw it over to Peyton. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see it is a photo of the Bills general manager, and I want him to guess why he is my dirty bird of the week.
He had some quote. I don't remember what it was.
Not a quote.
Don't think that hard.
Oh, his connection to a bird?
No.
Why Kenny's putting him in?
Why
have
is he
no
my dirty
idea.
bird? Who did he sign this past week, Peyton?
Who did he sign?
It's actually funnier that he doesn't remember. That's how irrelevant this
Chase
person is now.
Claypool, former best friend of Peyton Haberman, is now a Buffalo Bill.
Wait. The Bills signed Chase Claypool.
You didn't see that?
I can't tell if he's joking.
I did not see. I thought he went to the CFL. I saw he had like CFL connection. You're lying.
No,
to me.
he signed with the Bills.
No, I saw he signed. I saw he
This is
signed
a
with the Bills.
Dumb troll. You're kidding.
Oh
my God, they signed Chase Claypool.
Yeah, dude. How did you not see this?
When did they sign him?
I think
2
Saturday.
days
A couple days
Saturday
ago.
or Friday?
Yeah.
Dude.
This
Oh,
might be
man.
the first time I've ever seen Peyton not know.
I did
something.
not see this at all. I have no idea why I missed this.
Yeah.
So, Peyton, I want you to guess what Brandon Beane's connection is to a bird.
Birds
I'm
eat
sorry.
beans.
My mind is like scrambled right now. Like they have Josh Allen throwing to Chase Claypool.
What is he going to be wide receiver? What, like 2?
No, he'll be like
1.
4.
Well, who do they have? Because they got.
They drafted
Coleman.
Coleman. They have Khalil Shakir. So at best,
Oh yeah,
3.
I forgot.
Did Brandon Beane go to Virginia Tech? Is he a Hokie?
No, but you're very close. This school was closer to you when you were growing up in the state of North Carolina.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
God, what birds are around there?
Seahawk.
Oh, he went to UNC Wilmington?
Correct.
Go Seahawks. How about that?
Beat Kentucky.
Wow. I did not know either of those things. Thank you. That brightened my day, that knowing both of those things, actually.
There you go. That might be the first time I've ever seen Peyton not know something before we said it on the show.
Right.
That is wild.
I did
What
not
is your,
know that happened.
What's your dirty bird?
My dirty bird. Sorry. My mind is blown right now. My dirty bird is Ivan Herrera, the Cardinals catcher. Him and the Cardinals, they were in a 3-hour delay yesterday in a game against the White Sox. There was literally 1 out they needed to get in the game. Ivan Herrera came up with the bases loaded after the resumption with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th. There was a 1-2 count. Tanner Banks, the left-handed pitcher for the White Sox, throws a ball clearly off the corner of the plate. CB Buckner says, nope, one batter after a 3-hour delay is good enough for me. He calls him out. He rings him up. The Cardinals lose. So they waited 3 hours to get 4 pitches, and Ivan Herrera got rung up on not a strike. So very good stuff there. Ivan Herrera, maybe you should protect the plate, little man. Yeah, he's my dirty bird.
That's so fun. How many pitches? You said it was 4 after the whole delay?
Four after the whole delay. 3-hour delay for 4 pitches.
What was the delay for again?
Rain. Dude, I would have loved to have been a fan because there's a good chance there were fans that stayed there and were like in the bathroom when the game resumed.
Definitely.
And like just missed it. Just missed the 4 pitches. I think it's possible that at least one person stayed and then missed this.
That's so funny. Did we talk about the dirty B of the week? Did we talk about that? The B delay?
B delay, no. The Diamondbacks had to scratch their starter because of that, because he was all warmed up and then he had to wait for too long.
I shout out that beekeeper. I saw they let him throw out the first pitch.
Pretty fire.
After the B delay, that is pretty fire.
Yeah, Ivan Herrera.
That's tough. My dirty bird of the week, going I guess away from sports a little bit. My dirty bird of the week is Drake. My connection to a bird for Drake. His OVO logo is an owl. So there's a bird on there. Yeah, if you're not paying attention to this, I'm not gonna bring you up to speed on the entire beef going on between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. But it is damn entertaining. That's the only reason I wanted to bring this up. I don't know how brushed up Peyton and Kenny you guys are, if you've listened to any of the diss tracks or anything, but it's very fun. It's just like Twitter is exploding. It's one of those just like kind of internet breaking moments that I think I want to acknowledge. I'm not going to begin to get into the things that these two have said about one another in their respective songs, mostly because I would probably have to cut it from the show. But it is wild stuff, and I would encourage you, I don't know, if you're a rap fan, especially if you haven't heard these songs, go listen to them.
Say Kendrick Lamar, but replace Kend with pickle.
He's right.
He's right, he said.
That's right.
Any thoughts on the beef, gentlemen?
I don't.
I haven't really gotten into this kind of stuff in forever. I don't even listen to rap music really anymore. I think the last time was it Machine Gun Kelly and Eminem that had their beef when we were back in high school in like 2018. So that's really the last thing I knew about this. I keep seeing tweets about it. I don't really give it enough time to even read it. I tried reading this article and reading others to see what you were talking about, and I saw Drake called Kendrick Lamar short, and then Kendrick Lamar just went full on attacking him in his song. So it's like one of those things where I don't know if Kendrick Lamar has any siblings. I didn't do any research on this, but sometimes only childs, when they get made fun of, it's like they will destroy you and everything after that because they can't take a joke. So maybe that's where it is.
Well, Kenny's team Drake by the sound of it.
No, I
Kenny's
think I'm
an only
Kendrick Lamar.
child, so
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get that.
he would understand that plight. But I'm pretty sure Kendrick Lamar is siblings, but I could be totally wrong. Again, I don't know much about this. But make peace, not war. Pickle Rick, Lamar, and Drake.
Yeah, it's just been I have gotten into it, and so I guess maybe that's why it makes my time worth it, is because I can bring it up on the show.
There you go.
But
Caleb Duckworth.
oh, there you go. He does have a sibling. But it's so crazy. Some of the things they're saying, like, this is going to be a moment that, like, in 10 years, it'll get like revisited, and everyone's just going to be like, remember when all this happened? That was crazy. So
Yeah.
I'm appreciating the history as it's happening right in front of us, or the cultural history, I guess. I don't know. It's wild stuff. Again, I don't really want to get into the stuff that Kenny talking about Drake saying Kendrick is short is probably the tamest thing we can bring up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the best we can say. But you can read into it. It's crazy. It's fun. Anyway, going back to the sports stuff.
Uh-oh. Kenny,
You mentioned DeMar DeRozan.
where you going? Kenny, what time is it? Kenny, where are you going? Kenny, what are you doing? We can't really see the top of you.
It's from
We're starting in the NBA. Basketball. Super teams are slowly dying. We didn't talk about this, guys. The Suns got swept by the Timberwolves last week. It is the death of the super team. No more KD Warriors. No more KD Suns. The Brooklyn Nets with Harden and Kyrie. They're dead. They're fraudulent. Anthony Edwards sweeping the Phoenix Suns. There it is.
Nice mic. Yeah, Kevin Durant, your legacy is destroyed. You can't win anything without little Steph Curry, can you? Yeah, take that, Snake. The snake slithers away.
I bumped my mic.
Yeah, you still sound terrible. What's next?
I'm back.
Oh, you're still
You're not
going
back.
through your computer microphone.
Just roll it.
There you
Number
go.
4
Now
in the
you're
fraud rankings. We're going to LA. The Clippers. They also lost. Everyone always puts LA in the finals. Their real problem, they didn't play Kobe Brown enough. Kenny and Peyton. Kobe Brown, 3 appearances, only 10 minutes. You can't win without having Kobe on the floor for that long. Fraudulent Clippers. Let's go mask. Get to those finals, Luka Doncic.
Coming in at number 3 on the frauds, we got the Toronto Maple Leafs, or should I call them the Maple Laughs? Oh no, Toronto, it happens again. They lose in heartbreaking fashion in a Game 7 of the Boston Bruins. They worked their ass off to get this series up to 3-3 without Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews comes back. He gets a point in this game. The Maple Leafs take a 1-0 lead late in the third period. They still wind up losing. They can't even hold the lead for more than 30 seconds before the Bruins tie it up and then score promptly in overtime on a crazy entry pass. Oh no, the humanity. Just a bad weekend between Drake and the Maple Leafs for the city of Toronto.
Good connection, Peyton.
And it coming in at number 2 is the Iowa Rampage.
Who?
No!
Another Arena Football League team is in the gutter. It's fraudulent football. They play on an ice rink. They put turf down. It's only a 50-yard field. Rest in peace to the Iowa Rampage.
How is this league still alive? Moving on to number 1, we got Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham is the latest victim in the LeBron coaching circus. There has never been a good LeBron coach. Just ask everyone on Twitter. No, but seriously, Darvin Ham, I mean, half the time he wasn't coaching. He was just watching these games. I swear. It was the first time I actually vividly remember or vividly have thought, okay, I see what people mean by this guy is a terrible basketball coach. But Knowlton, I hear the Bucks job is opening up. Maybe they can bring home.
Where did you hear that? I haven't heard that.
I don't know. I just was trying to say you're going to hire Darvin Ham.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the Bucks while we're on that conversation. What's up, Jack? Huh?
Milwaukee sucks.
What's up, Jack?
Milwaukee sucks.
Uh-oh. No
Tyrese
depth?
Halliburton.
No depth?
Very injured. We fired our coach midway through
The only
season.
reason the Bucks won the title years ago was because KD's ensemble was injured.
Yeah, okay.
And if KD had his players, that
Yep.
would be an easy win for the
Uh-huh.
Nets.
I'm so sure. I'm
He's
so
right.
sure.
He almost single-handedly beat the Bucks that year.
No.
Yeah, if his foot wasn't on the line.
If his foot wasn't so big,
Well, it was. So he can kiss my ass, and so
Say the
can
same thing this year.
everybody
was.
else who always says Giannis is going to leave after every season.
He should.
You
should
know
have
what?
the
that's
Rockets
a
or the Bulls.
success.
In
It's
Doc
not
we
a
trust.
failure.
They're going to have a whole off season. They're going to be healthy next year. We're going to run it back. The Pacers.
This guy just
I
said,
don't know.
"In Doc we trust." He said,
Doc we trust because I have no other choice. I sure don't want.
Is Giannis kind of
Darvin
turning into LeBron? Can't win on the big stage.
Ham.
Keeps getting his coaches fired.
"It's not a
That's what some are
failure.
saying.
It's
Some are
that's
saying
the
it's just
success."
basketball. Just
That was a
basketball.
bad.
Well, that's
quote.
my favorite saying.
That's my favorite saying. That's my favorite saying. That was a bad quote. Yeah, they were injured. They were very injured.
This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Guys, what did the boy say to his fingers? No guesses. What did the boy say to his fingers? "I'm counting on you."
Oh, I was trying to think of something with counting. Kenny gets so many ads on the Today Show.
Mm-hmm.
They hate me.
That's tough. Yeah, that Bruins. I was gonna say that Bruins goal in Game 7. That was crazy.
Yep.
Little
Hockey, man.
juke.
Happens.
Yeah, playoff hockey is.
Got it right past Mickey Marner.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for
We
the
don't know who
show.
that is.
I don't know who that is. I don't. I just.
That's because his name is actually Mitch Marner.
All right. Well, can you go by Mick? No, you wouldn't go by Mickey with Mitch. That's not a.
No, people call him Mickey Marner.
So he
Because
does go by Mickey, even though his name's
No,
Mitch.
he's a playoff joker. Is why he's called Mickey Marner.
Oh, I get it. Mickey, that kind of Mickey. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. That'll do it for the show. Hope everyone enjoyed. We'll do more breakdowns like this as the summer goes. We'll have some with football because I think we are going to have to revisit. Like, I don't know whether it's like we each give our top 3 or top 2 favorite transfers from the football team because I feel like there's been so many. We'll have to do some like more breakdowns of stuff as the summer goes on.
I think we go too deep at every position.
Yeah,
That's just my thought. Yeah,
we could
we just do the starters
You
and the
know
back for every position.
Actually, this could be this is an insight on how you fill content in the summer when nothing's happening is we do that. We do like a quarterback room breakdown, a running back room breakdown, defensive tackle breakdown. Maybe we make Peyton do a 1-hour segment on Connor Tollison and how he improved last year. He can give us a slide. He can give us the slideshow, Kenny. Give us a PowerPoint presentation. We'll figure some stuff out. We'll have plenty of content for you guys. That said, for both football, basketball, anything that comes up, any news, let us know in the comments what you want to see in the YouTube or on Spotify. Subscribe there. Put your starting 5 for basketball. We'd love to see what other people think. Maybe someone has Anthony Robinson.
I don't.
You don't want to see.
I'm right and you're wrong.
We run a dictatorial show here.
No, I'm kidding.
We're the only voices that are allowed to be heard.
Also, shout out somebody, I don't know who, said in the comments of last video, Eddie Kelly is probably going to play more DN. That is actually correct, I believe. So he's not going to play D tackle.
Kenny, you're muted, buddy.
His name's Connor.
Thank you, Connor.
Shout out Connor. Comment
Not
stuff.
Tollison, I hope.
Connor Tollison's commenting on our posts. Anyway, subscribe on the YouTube, subscribe on Spotify. Thank you to all the gracious listeners. Comment stuff, whatever you want to see on the show, all this stuff. I'm very good at long-winded outros is what I've learned over our year of doing this as a podcast.
Me too.
That'll do it for the Unwritten Rule. We will see you guys on Friday.